One of the nicer things about this project is that I'm often getting to go back and play games that I tried, thought were kind of neat, but had to set aside for other things. Romancia is one of those games, and I always intended to get back to it. Unfortunately, playing it with a guide so that I knew where to go has revealed the flaws in Romancia for me. When I was poking around trying to figure things out, it seemed like there could be a rich game there. But now coming into it with a bit more knowledge, I can see that it's one of the worst action-adventure games we've seen so far. Romancia was a computer game. Specifically, it was Dragon Slayer 3. Namco released Dragon Slayer 4 on the Famicom about 3 months before this, and we're going to have the release of Dragon Slayer 2 on the Famicom about 2 weeks after the release of this game, or about 4 episodes from now. The game is very loosely based on the novel, and I'm going to apologize here because my French is even worse than my Japanese. Voyage merveilleux du prince Fanfredin dans la Romancia. I couldn't find an English translation of this 18th century French novel. Though from the descriptions I could find, I think they only took names from it. The story of the game is that Prince Fanfredin is just exploring the world and comes across a set of kingdoms that are in trouble. The princess of Romancia has been kidnapped, and disease is spreading throughout the land. The game itself is a side-scrolling action-adventure game, though the action and adventure do seem to be very separated. You'll have to go through the action segment of passing through this forest and defeating a boss, and then you enter the kingdom of Romancia, where you have to do adventure things for quite a while, and then you go back and do some action again, and so on. The game originally had the subtitle of Dragon Slayer Jr., but that seems to refer to how the interface was simplified a bit. Despite that, the game is known for being overwhelmingly difficult. In fact, some ads for the computer versions called it very cute and 100% difficult. But Romancia didn't come by that difficulty fairly. It's difficult because everything is obscured, it's very easy to put your game in an unwinnable state, and there is no way to continue. The one blessing here is that the game is extremely short. It takes about 45 minutes to complete when you know what you're doing. However, about 30 minutes of that are backtracking. Romancia is not a large game, and so it's padded like crazy. Let's take your first major task when you get to town, for example. There's a lot of sick people in town, and they need medicine. You can get medicine at the church, which is at the far end of town. You then have to take that medicine to each individual person, hand over the medicine, walk back to the church, and repeat. You also need to dump some medicine in the town well to purify the water. So you have to make this round trip 4 times to get everything. And for added bonuses about how annoying Romancia can be, the only way to talk to sick people is to stand a bit away from their head, not next to them like you do for everyone else. And you have to have the medicine selected as your active object, and talk to them to get them to take it. If you press the A button, which is Use Item, then you use the medicine on yourself instead. And since there's a limited amount of medicine, and you have to get enough karma by healing people, if you do press A, you've just ruined your game. You start out with 1 hit point and no attack points. The very first thing you do is talk to these 2 gentlemen, and they'll restore you to 20 hit points and 15 attack points. Those attack points aren't really that useful. The B button swings the sword, and holding down the B button throws the sword at the cost of 1 attack point. The only place where I found it to be really effective is against the boss. Since A uses the item you have selected, and B attacks, that means you have to press up to jump. You have a double jump in Romancia, and it is probably the worst double jump ever. At the very top of your jump, you have to release and press jump again. If you don't do a full height jump, you can't double jump. Miss that 1 frame where you're at the top of the jump, you don't get your double jump. It is so tricky to perform the double jump in this game that if you were just told that it existed, and then tried to do it, you would think that they were lying to you. And the worst part about that double jump is that it's required in several points. So we're fighting our way through the forest now, and there's a ruin that blocks your path, but you can't get into it until you defeat enough guys outside of it. Once that happens, this blue sphere shows up. It automatically drops on you, and once you have it, you can go forward. While you're fighting monsters, they'll sometimes drop sword or heart icons to increase those stats, but you can hit those pickups and destroy them. I don't even know why they would include that feature. Okay, so we're through the forest, and now we're at this lake with the jumping fish. You have to jump across the clouds, and if you fall in, the only way you're getting out is if a fish pushes you out. And just past that, we have this boss. It's actually not that tough to beat, especially if you're throwing swords. If it does start hurting you, you can hit the scales it launches to get some additional hearts and swords. That brings us to town, and I've already described the Sick People quest. Helping them earns you karma. That's this ring in the corner. You need good karma so that you'll go to heaven. And I'm not being metaphorical there. As you wander around town, you'll collect a few key items, like a robe and a soul. And then you talk to this guy who will kill you, and if you have everything that you need, you'll fly up to heaven. In heaven you can get some items blessed, and earn some magic points. The other two stats in the lower right hand corner are kind of related. You have gold, but there isn't much you can buy with it, except for defense points. Those you can purchase for 2 gold each from this guy, or you can jump through his wall and buy them for 1 gold each from his brother. There are a lot of hidden walls and things that you just have to walk through in Romancia. This passageway to get down to the ferry is one of the more annoying ones. With all the equipment you get, you can go east out of town, and here you can have these guys complete a bridge for you. Though, looking at it, I'm wondering if you could double jump over it, assuming you could double jump successfully. The completed bridge will link you to the neighboring kingdom, where everybody's been turned into pigs. Killing the pigs costs you karma. And, like I said, you need the karma. So if you're trying to figure out what's going on here, you've just ruined your game. Instead, you have to use blessed water to kill them kindly, I guess? They still die, it just gains you karma. And that's about as far as I got in Romancia. It's a short game, but if you play it, you have to follow a guide exactly, to the letter, and I'd advise reading ahead. There's a lot of pitfalls that you'll just stumble into because you don't know what's going on. And really, they're the kind of thing that make Romancia not that much fun. When you see how narrow the path is for you to follow in order to complete the game, any kind of experimentation or tinkering basically makes you have to start over. And that's not fun. On top of that, the game is dragged out. Even in the hour that I was playing, I wound up having to repeat things a lot. I had wanted to go back to Romancia, but this return has made me not want to go back again.